Hey, Shawnee from SpeechReview.com. Let's talk about how to get a little more advanced with Ortega method. Now, I'd consider myself an intermediate Ortega solver. I average about 5.5 at home. I have my, some good averages of 5 or 12 at around 4.5 seconds. So a couple things about Ortega. Remember, you don't have to have the bottom corners permuted in the right place, and often it's easier to not have them like that. Now, one thing we want to do is do very, very, very minimal regrips. I see some people where they're inserting pieces on the bottom and they're kind of rotating it. There is no need for any rotations ever, because there's two ways to insert a piece. Let's say this white piece needs to go right there. We can either do how we would with F2L, like that, or if you're holding it this way, you can insert it by doing RU R prime. And this would be the case if we were holding it on this side. We would just do it on the back. Or if it was over here, whoop, I think I did that backwards. Yep. If it was over here, inserting it just like that, but on the back. So there's really no reason to regrip. You can insert corners all different ways. And then you have the OLL, and then the PBL. So that's the first thing, not regripping the cube for that first layer. For the second layer, finding efficient OLLs. So for example, I show in my Ortega video when you have this case where it's the double headlights to do F and then sexy move 3 times. That can take a while to do. So you could then do this algorithm, which is R2, U2, R, U2, R2. Now for me, I like to do it with my left hand, which is that. The next thing would be also learning something like CLL. Now you could learn COLL, but a lot of those algorithms are not as efficient. Those ones don't mess up the edges or centers, which is not an issue on a 2x2 because there's no edges or centers to worry about. But if I have certain cases, I will do a COLL because I know some of those. Now this isn't always efficient because if your bottom layer is not solved, you don't really want to completely solve that top layer. So I'd only do that if the bottom layer was completely solved and I have some of those cases. Now I should be learning CLL and I'll be doing that probably in the future, but for right now, I know some of the COLLs. And the last thing is to know finger tricks or different algorithms for the last layer. So for example, I said in a video recently that I was doing that algorithm when you have 2 bars, and that requires a regrip. It can be pretty fast, but that regrip can take some time. So now what I'm doing is an algorithm that looks more like this. And there's no regrips. Now I'm still learning it, so it's a little bit slow, but there's no regrips at all, and it can be a bit faster. So I'll put that one right in the video right there so you can see that. And this also means learning how to do them on the top and the bottom. So for example, that algorithm, when you have 1 bar on top, that's the RU prime R F2, and then R prime U R prime. If you have that bar on the bottom, instead of flipping it over and doing the algorithm, just doing it on bottom. So R prime D, R prime F2, R, D prime, R. And honestly, I find that easier to do than the one on the top. There are some things that if you have, let's say a Y permutation, it might be more beneficial to flip the cube over. You could do something like F2, D2, and then the algorithm where you have 2 bars on the back, and then reversing that. But that might actually be more time to set that up, do the algorithm, then reverse that setup. So those are some of the main tricks for it. Not regripping the cube, learning some more efficient algorithms, doing things like CLL if you can, and then getting more efficient algorithms for the permutating both layers, PBL. Now let's talk about one more thing. When you're building the first layer, it's easy to tell what you're going to have as far as pairs. So this bottom layer, if nothing is paired up, so let's actually do that. If nothing is paired up, the colors are all going to be opposite. So blue, green, red, orange, blue, green, red, orange. And if let's say you have one more piece to insert, you can tell none of them are going to be paired up because you already have those opposite colors on at least two of the sides. So no matter what, it's not going to be there. The other thing to note is that let's say you do have one more thing to insert and you don't have any pairs yet, and you can tell there will be one because those are not opposite colors. That should be green or that should be red. When you insert a corner, so for example, this yellow, green, red one right here, this green and this green is going to match up. There's no way to insert this with yellow on bottom where green will not match up. So often what I will do is when I am making the bottom layer, that I will just look at, if I have one piece to insert, I will look at what that piece is. So I see red, blue, and yellow. So it's going to go right here. So is there a blue and yellow this can match up with? And there is not, so there's not going to be any pairs there. Plus I can already see there's one here. You can only have one matching pair or all of them. You cannot have two. So if you already see that there is one, then you know that's it. And you know there's not going to be any other ones. So let's do some walkthrough solves. So right here, so we have f, u2, f prime, u2, f, u prime. Now, as far as picking which side I'm going to do, I can see that green, this is going to be easy to insert right there, but then I'm going to have green on top. White, this one's going to be nice. So I already have a pair right here, and blue and green. So I could have pairs all around it or just one, but I know if I just have one, it's going to be right there. When you have one corner facing out and one on top that are opposite, it's a really easy insert because you can set that up and then turn 90 degrees, pair it, turn 90 more. And as I'm doing that, I can see that's going to pair up. So I have complete solved bottom layer. Then I have the OLL, and that one ended up solving the PLL. Let's do another one. Okay, so here we have orange looks kind of nice. Yep, that's going to look good. So I can see those are opposite, so that's not going to pair up. Those are opposite there. And with orange on bottom, what I can do is I can tell if I move this over here, I can pair that one up. And blue is not going to move. Blue is going to stay on the side when I do that. And I see that blue is going to pair up. So blue is going to be paired up and it's going to be on the side. So you want to try to see if you can figure out what the top layer is going to be, but at least just knowing where the pair is, then you don't have to focus on it when you insert that. And I can go right into OLL. And I can see here those are all paired up. Blue's right there. And so J permutation or T permutation or A, whatever you prefer. Now that's also one more thing I want to address. If let's say you have that case, you could flip that up top, do the J perm there, and then flip it down. And then there's no turning of the cube. So let's do one more. This one might be too easy. Okay, so there's the scramble, U, R, F, U. And we have yellow here. So I can see that if I move yellow down, I can pair that one up. And that's going to put orange paired up. Those are paired up. It's going to solve the entire yellow face and solve the cube. So I think actually that was the scramble. Let's do one more thing. Okay. Here's a good example. We have a lot of different things we can do. So orange is set. Blue is almost set. I like orange because blue, that piece is facing opposite. With orange, that's on the side. Now here, those are paired up, these ones are not. So I know for a fact I'm only going to have one pair. I don't even need to look at what these colors are. I know it's not going to pair up, that's the only one I'm going to have. And then I have red on top. Now there's a couple ways I can insert this, and one thing I'm going to do right here is just, instead of doing a U and then inserting it, I'm just going to do L prime U2 L. I see that's going to bring these two red on top. And then this red is going to be facing me when I'm done. And I know because of that, all the red has to be here. So I already know the OLL I'm going to have to do. So I do L prime U2 L. The OLL is this one. And then I remember there's a pair on the back, and I can see this pair here. So I'm just going to move that to the back. And without even looking at where those pairs are, because I know they're both back there, PBL. And that's it. So thank you very much. Please leave your thoughts and questions in the comment section below. Hit like, subscribe for more content like this in the future, and as always, stop by speedqbreview.com for more news and reviews. So what I'm doing now is an algorithm that looks like this. Whoop.